All right, guys. Hey, so we're at a different station here down in my workshop, and I'm going to make something pretty different than anything you've ever seen, I'm sure. People ask me all the time, what do you do with butter knives? Because when you buy a set of silverware, you always get 8, 10, 12 knives in each set you buy. I have thousands upon thousands of these butter knives. And so I do make something out of them. I call it a bud vase. It's a little vase. It's hard to imagine, but I'm going to take this knife and this spoon, and I'm going to make a bud vase. And it'll make sense when I'm done. So what I've done, I've taken a serving spoon like this, and I've already flattened it out. I didn't think I had to show that. You just take a hammer and you beat the crap out of it and you just hammer it flat. That's the first thing you do. And you lay that aside, and I got my vise here. I'm gonna put this knife, put the blade down in the vise here. I'm gonna put the old glasses on because I don't want it to blow up on me. Every now and then they'll kind of blow up. You wanna take your torch, okay, and you wanna center that heat kind of on the whole handle. I kind of do the top to bottom. You want to focus most of your heat right where the handle and the blades connect. Just kind of focus that heat. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. That solder in there to start melting. There, it's dripping out. So once you start seeing it drip out, you can go ahead and grab a hold of that thing and just work it loose. Just like pulling a tooth or something, like at the dentist office. And then I'm going to drain it out on the floor. I know it's kind of a crude thing to do, but you'll see some. There it goes. That's the silver solder coming out of there. Yeah, that's why you heat the whole handle, so you get all that to come out. All right, that's pretty good. Whoa, I'm gonna burn my shirt off. All right, so I'm gonna come over here and put it in the water, and this thing will really sizzle here. I just put it right now. Whoa. All right, so now we got it cooled down. So what you have now is, I'll bring it over here, is the handle. Now the blade is out of it and you have the handle. So these old silver plated knife handles are completely hollow. A lot of people don't know that, but it is hollow. Here's the end of it. All that solder came out of there. You saw it dripping out. So now this will hold water, and that's why it makes a pretty neat vase. So I'm going to clean it up real quick. It's going to take it to the buffer real quick, kind of clean it up. And so I'm just going to get on these ends here, real good on that end. Just like so. All right, and then do the rest of the handle. That don't take too long. Nice and shiny. Just like so. All right. And these things, they'll fill up with water. We'll dump it out here in a second. I'll show you. All right, so here's your handle, nice and pretty. And then you can just dump that water out. Like I said, they hold water. You could put a little flower in there, or a couple maybe. When it's all said and done, it'll make sense here in a minute. All right, so now we're going back over. I was talking about that spoon that I flattened out. And so what you're gonna do, eventually it's gonna sit right on top like that. It just seems kind of crazy, but that's what it's gonna look like. And I'm gonna bend this handle around so it'll have a handle to grab a hold of it. It'll almost look like a candle holder here in a second. And a lot of people call it that. They mistake it for a candle holder, and you'll see what I mean. But anyway, I'm gonna take this old blade out. It's pretty hot still, so I'm not gonna touch it. And I'm gonna come right here. And so what I'm gonna do, I'll try to do the tango with Donnie here. I'm just gonna start bending on this a little bit, and it's gonna sit kind of like this. That knife handle sit right there, and I'm gonna bring this up. And so what you do is you just kind of put it in here. It's kind of a makeshift thing. Try to keep and you can just kind of, put a bend. Let's just put a bend right about here. I'm just bending it around the pipe here. Just like so, kind of just like that. And so what you have is this, okay, just like that. And then now I'm gonna move this hammer. So now you take what you have here. I'm gonna come around, okay. And so now I'm just gonna bring this back the other way. So kind of like so, maybe right in here. So I'm just gonna bring this around. I'll probably have to take it over to the ring bender here in a second because it is really, really thick. So that's good. That means it's gonna be a really strong one. And so I'm just bending this around. Wow. Actually, hey, I'll just take the old hammer here. Bend that, there we go. Bend that around like so. Just like that. Okay, so now you got, it's kind of looking funky. And now I go back to the original, the first bend, and we'll just go a little bit more. Just a little bit more, kind of like this. Okay, and then with your hands, you can pretty much, I kind of put my thumb in here, and you can pretty much just bring this in like that. Okay, maybe a little bit more until you have something like this. And it sits pretty flat once you flatten those spoons. It's a pretty nice base. So now you have something like this, okay? And then if you have, so here's an idea of what it's gonna look like, just like that. All right, so I'm gonna bring it over here to this little workstation. And I've rigged up this little contraption. It's very crude, it's just 2x4s. Really crude, I will admit. But what it does, and I'll show you what it does. So I'll bring it over here towards me. And what it does, it'll kind of make sense here in a second. So I need this to stay steady. And so what I've done, this is just, again, really crude, but boy, it makes my life a lot easier. This will hold it in place so I can solder this together. Okay, so I'm gonna solder it. And what this does, I've got a little nut here on the end, just like that. So now it's kind of sitting together. I'm gonna bring this a little bit my way. And what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to get it as even as I can. You know, I want it to be fairly centered, pretty even. It doesn't have to be perfect. If you've watched any of my videos, you know I talk about that a lot. It doesn't have to be laser cut or anything, but I want it to be fairly straight, fairly even. And so I don't know if you can see that, but it's the handle is touching the spoon handle. The knife handle is touching the spoon handle right here and at the bottom. And so now, I mean, it looks pretty straight. I'm kind of going through this pretty quickly. We'll say that's pretty straight. That's good enough. And so now I've got my solder out here, silver solder, and got the little torch here. We'll try to get as close as we can to this part. This part's pretty fun. So you want to heat this up right where where they touch, where each handle touches the other. You want to go ahead and get it hot beforehand. And this is just how I do it. A lot of people solder a lot different than I do. I do it pretty fast. I sell a lot of these, so I'm gonna make it fast. It's pretty hot right now, so I'm just gonna touch this solder to it. A little bit of heat. There we go. Kind of get that in there. A little bit more. Yeah, it's gonna drip a little bit, but that's okay. That's okay. And then, now we're gonna go towards the bottom here and solder this part. And again, this is just how I do it. You can do it however you want. This is just how I do it. Right in there. There's a good piece. Right in there. All right. Looks like that should be pretty good. Should set up nicely. We'll see if that worked. So, we'll see if that did the trick. I'll try to pull this. What I do is I just kind of pull this straight up and out. Just like that. We'll let it cool just for a second or two. It looks like it's gonna be pretty good. And then I'm just gonna grab a hold of it and we'll take it over to the water. Donnie and I will switch places here. And then move this out of the way. It's pretty hot, so we're gonna put it down in here. Let that sit there for a second. Nice. And here we go. Dump that water out. Just like so. Okay. And you got yourself what I call a little bud vase. And again, it sits perfectly flat. We'll put it right here on the, so it sits just like that. And you could put, you know, a couple flowers in there or one flower. A lot of people use them for ring holders. You put your rings over it like that. A lot of people burn those incense sticks in them. You put the incense stick in there, they stick about this high, and you burn the incense sticks in them. There's a few things you can do with them. I call them bud vases, but there's you an idea for all those knife handles.